Thank you for joining us. My name is Dr. Russell Butler. I am Chair of Computer Science at Bishop's University in Quebec, which means I design the curriculum, I teach courses, and I supervise master students directly. Thank you for attending this information session. Many of you are embarking on a high-stakes decision regarding your future, and I take that responsibility very seriously. So today, I am here simply to explain our program, how the university operates, and not necessarily to persuade you of anything. So many of you after this session will decide not to apply to Bishops. That is the correct outcome. If you leave this session knowing clearly whether or not Bishops is a good fit for you, then the session will have done its job. So I will begin the presentation. Bishops University. Bishops was founded in 1843. It's a public university in Canada, so it grants Canadian public university degrees. These degrees are formally recognized nationally and internationally. Bishops is operating under the constraints of provincial audits, so our programs are audited provincially in the same way that other schools like McGill and Laval are audited. Importantly, not all institutions in Canada are subject to these constraints. So you should keep that in mind when choosing your destination of study, if you choose to apply to Canada. We're primarily English institution located in Sherbrooke, Quebec. In case you don't know, Quebec is a French province, so Bishop sits in a rather unique position where we teach in English, but we're surrounded by a French ecosystem. Sherbrooke itself is quiet and functional. It's a smaller city, around 250,000 people. We also have in the city the University of Sherbrooke, which is a large, more research-oriented institution. But together, these two schools, Bishops and Sherbrooke, create a shared infrastructure where the town itself is almost focused around the university. So Sherbrooke is what we call a university town. It's one of the safest cities or towns in Canada. And for international students such as yourselves, this will reduce distractions and risks and allow you to complete your studies in good time. So Sherbrooke overall, and Bishops especially, is a city and institution optimized for sustained study and concentration. Why study at Bishops University rather than some other school? So Bishops, as I mentioned, is quite old. It's almost 200 years old. So it's a very stable institution. It's not going anywhere. However, we have modern programs built on that foundation. So due to our smaller size, we're able to pivot quickly and adapt to changes, especially in computer science, where the field is evolving rapidly, as some of you may know. Recently, we underwent a full curriculum rehaul in response to AI. So we kept our strong academic foundations. We focus on math, theory, very strongly, but we also were able to restructure in response to AI quickly. In addition to that, we have small class sizes and high access to faculty members. So unlike larger institutions where you may get lost in the system, at Bishops, you're guaranteed close access to faculty and a safe and focused campus environment. I'll talk a bit about our faculty members. The computer science department at Bishops has 6, soon to be 7, full-time faculty members. Due to the smaller size, we're not able to cover every single topic in computer science, but we do cover a small subset of those topics very well. So for example, you see, sorry about that. You see on the top right, Dr. Yassir Malik. He's our resident cybersecurity expert. He teaches the cybersecurity courses and supervises cybersecurity research. We also have Dr. Rashid Hajam, who is our resident artificial intelligence and machine learning expert. We have Dr. Majid Ali Lee. He's our resident mathematician. He teaches courses like graph theory, computational topology. And we have a couple other tenured faculty members, so myself, Dr. Bentabit, and Dr. Bruda. So overall, you'll get a strong foundation in cybersecurity, systems, algorithms, theory, AI, and applications. And more importantly, you'll be working under direct supervision, and you'll be given early responsibility and the ability to contribute to our programs. Let's talk about the program structure for computer science at Bishop's. So I assume most of you are interested in our master's program. So the master's program can be broken down into 3 separate streams. First is the thesis-based stream. So the thesis-based master's program is a research-intensive program where you will work directly under the supervision of a faculty member and complete a 2-year thesis on a specialized topic. If you're a student interested in research and publishing, then this is a good fit for you. Note that it does require the acceptance of a faculty member who will agree to supervise you. So it's always good to reach out first before applying to that program. However, you can apply without reaching out. You'll just be assigned a supervisor if you're accepted. Secondly, we have the course-based option, which is different from the thesis-based option in that you will complete advanced coursework over 2 years rather than working on a single research topic. So the course-based option is for students who are not so much interested in a specific topic, but want a broad overview of contemporary computer science at the graduate level. And the course-based option culminates in a capstone project of 4 months. And in that project, you will also have the opportunity to work directly under the supervision of a faculty member, although it's not as intense as the thesis-based option. Finally, and this is a new option that's going live in fall 2026, we have the internship option, which is similar in structure to the course-based option, but instead of a capstone project at the end, you have the opportunity to perform a paid internship at a company in Canada. So it can be anywhere in Canada. It can be done remotely, although you have to be in Canada. And you will be conducting a paid internship, and that will allow you to build up your network early and hit the ground running if you plan to stay in Canada at the end of your studies. So importantly, the internship option is available starting in fall 26. And if you would like to apply for the internship option now, you will need to apply through the course-based stream and then switch once you arrive. All those programs are 2 years in length and 45 credits. We also have, in addition to the master's program, an undergrad program, which is, as most undergraduate programs are in Canada, 3 to 4 years, 120 credits. And you can do an honors major or concentration. I'll talk a bit about what you can expect to get out of your degree if you choose to attend. So most of our students go on to industry roles in software, AI security, and systems. I have a few examples here of recent graduates. So on the left, we have Farnaz Arouji. She is was one of my thesis-based students from Iran. She conducted her thesis under my supervision, and she went on to a successful career in Montreal working at the Jacob Institute, which is one of the top AI research institutes in Canada. She actually started as a course-based student and then switched to the thesis-based stream once she realized that she was more interested in research. So our programs are very flexible. If you arrive and you're not liking the option you're currently in, you always have the opportunity to switch. Also, you can switch. So once you arrive, if you're in the course-based stream, you'll have the ability to talk to our faculty members, and you may find there's someone you're really interested in working with, and in that case, you're free to switch to the thesis-based stream, assuming you have the prerequisites. On the right, you see another of my students, Ariane Yavari. He was another thesis-based student who graduated recently. He is currently pursuing his PhD at the University of Laval, and he also founded a startup in Montreal. So a standout student. I'm not saying everyone will go on to found a startup and do a PhD, but that's definitely a possibility. And in the middle, we have another of my thesis-based students, Abbas Zakari from Ghana, and he is currently working as a librarian in one of our maritime provinces, I believe Nova Scotia. Anyway, the point of Abbas is that you're not restricted to careers in computer science once you graduate. Once you finish your studies and get your postgraduate work permit, you can branch out into different fields. So overall, our program provides a strong foundation and preparation for doctoral studies and research careers and long-term adaptability and success. What do we expect from our students? If you are planning to apply, then we are looking for students with intellectual seriousness, independence and initiative, strong fundamentals and capacity for growth, and fit within a small, high-trust environment. If you look at our crest, you see there are two animals as well as a shield. On the left, you have the stag, on the right, the bear, and on the shield, you see two crossed keys. So overall, I would sum up the culture at Bishops as we expect endurance, strength, and the ability to operate within a small, high-trust environment. Our motto is right learning strengthens the heart, and we're excited to welcome you and integrate you into this system. For the next steps, you can reach out to myself or Jimmy, who will speak briefly about our program details in terms of admission and funding opportunities. And we will send out a recording and further information following this session. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Jimmy.
Thank you, Russell. Hi, everyone. I'll introduce myself. My name is Jimmy. I'm the Graduate Studies Coordinator at Bishop. So while I do have oversight over all our graduate programs, since we do have limited graduate programs at Bishops, I can support computer science in more extensive ways. So today I'll be giving you a bit more of an oversight of our campus, facilities and installations, and services that we do offer. I will also talk about the application process, admission requirements, as well as potential funding available for you. So first, as Russell mentioned, we are located in Sherbrooke, Canada. So Sherbrooke is often described as a mix between rural area and urban area. So while you'll find the same services, amenities, stores, restaurants as you would in Vancouver, Toronto, and Montreal, at least for the most part, we do find a lot of green spaces that you won't find in those urban places, as our beautiful campus can really depict here in this picture. Of course, we're not only farmlands, green areas, there are buildings, but the advantage being that we don't have traffic compared to Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver. We are located on the border of the US right here, so about an hour and a half drive away from Montreal, as Russell mentioned. So it's easy to drive up to Boston, New York, Toronto, and explore North America altogether while you're here in the townships. At Bishops, we thrive through experiential learning, and what we mean by that is that our students will be given important opportunities to learn through different experience projects. So at the graduate level, how does that translate? Mostly will translate through internships and practicums. As Russell mentioned, we now offer the internship-based program starting in fall 26. Of course, an internship will be part of students in this program, but all our students are encouraged and given the opportunity to do an internship with an industry partner regardless of their degree. So even if you're in the thesis-based program, course-based program, you'll be given that opportunity, but of course it won't count for credits being the difference. Otherwise, at the graduate level, it also translates into peer tutoring. So a lot of our graduate students will be given opportunities, mostly for those in the thesis-based program, but available to all, to potentially act as a TA, a teaching assistant, lab assistant, or even a research assistant. A lot of our experiential learning will be integrated into your courses, and as well as funding opportunities and grants. And we do offer entrepreneurship programs, incubators, and all of that. For those that are interested in starting a business, it's something, or a startup, it's something, as Russell mentioned, that some of our students, such as Arian, are interested in. So maybe that's something you're interested in as well. The next thing that I want to talk about is mostly installations and what is available on campus. So we do have a newly renovated pool, as you can see here, Olympic size, so that you can swim away. We do have access to a fitness center, so you can work out as you study. We have access to a all year round ice rink, so you can skate if you can try skating if you've never tried it before. You have access to the different soccer fields, football fields, regardless of what sport you want to practice or you want to try, badminton, tennis, we have access to all of these installations for you to do so. We do have competitive varsity teams. Varsity means that they will be competing against other institutions. For basketball, rugby, and golf, it is for women and men. For hockey and soccer, strictly for women, and for lacrosse and football, strictly for men. Of course, beyond those, as I mentioned, you can practice a lot of sports. There will be what we call intramural. So that means that within our own institution or at a non-competitive level between other institutions, students will sometimes practice badminton, soccer, football, like the other sports that are not listed here. So you'll have the opportunity to do so as you study here. We have various dining options. We do have our Doers Dining Hall, which is our cafeteria. It is a buffet style place. So regardless of your diet, you'll always find an option that suits your needs or will. We do have access to the Purple Pod, Tim Hortons and Library Cafe and Bus Stop Cafe that are more a quick grab option. Tim Hortons is our Starbucks equivalent here in Canada. So I really recommend the donuts over there. They're a delight. We offer on-campus housing. 70% of our students will have lived on campus at some point in their studies with us. Of course, it is guaranteed. As a first-year student, you would be guaranteed a place within the residence. It is not forced, but I mean, we do recommend it to facilitate your transition at Bishop's, especially as an international student. It would make things much easier. You wouldn't necessarily have to find off-campus housing. We will support you with that as well if that's something that you want to do. But residences is really the best option. If you come with a partner, children, a family, of course, off-campus housing may be a better option, but know that 97% of our students will live within 5 to 10 minute walking distance. So there is affordable housing nearby off campus for you if that's what you want to opt for. The different rooms that we have available. So of course we have your typical residence style with a shared room, but otherwise most of them will not have a kitchen. So you will need to adhere to our meal plans. We cannot have a student on campus living on campus that cannot feed themselves. But we also have a more suite style, your typical apartment where you have a number of rooms and a kitchen within the apartment so you can cook meals for yourself. So with that, you wouldn't need to opt for the meal plan. The cost of living and feeding yourself on campus will be around $12,000 Canadian in total for the year. So around $6,000 for living, around $6,000 for eating on campus. But of course, in terms of the meal plan, it's not going to withdraw a certain amount every time you use your card. It is unlimited throughout the year. So if you want to go to the cafeteria to Dewey's 7 times a day, you're welcome to do so. Grab as many cookies as you can, feed yourself as much as you want while you're here. More pictures of what those residences can look like. One more thing I want to talk about, student services. We've been ranked first for student services here in Canada for several years now. And the reason for that is that our size and our strength. So we will offer the same services as you will find at a large institution, such as McGill, Concordia, U of T, Vancouver, regardless of the university, but we will really tailor it on per individual on campus, since we don't have as many students as a large university would. So you will find 24-hour security on campus, a health clinic, and a sports medicine clinic. The clinics will be the only paid services that you will find on campus. Of course, all our students for the health clinic will have some insurance that will help cover that. But the rest, career and transition services, which is one that our graduate students leverage a lot in terms of preparing their portfolio, finding potential job on campus or off campus while they study and after their studies, preparing for interviews and all of that. They will really help you make sure that you are ready to tackle all of this. Student Center, English Writing Center, if English is something that you're trying for the first time, counseling, academic success coaching, student accessibility, and we also have Bishops International. And I want to take a minute to talk about that because it's a question that comes up a lot during these presentations. How am I supported as an international student? Is it safe? I want to tell you that yes, it is safe here on campus in Quebec altogether. There's no violence or anything related to towards international students. International students will be supported with a 3-day mandatory onboarding, which means that you will be taken by the Bishops International team throughout the different services relevant for you as an international student, but also to learn about the culture at Bishops and Quebec altogether, how to prepare for the winter. Everything that you need to know as an international student, you will learn through that onboarding. Beyond that, we do have, yes, a 1-week orientation where students altogether, regardless of them being domestic or international student, will be offered different onboarding activities, social activities to meet your peers, make friends, but also learn about the academic services that you have here on campus. So you are supported throughout your studies, and we do have legal counselors that can support you with your immigration. So you're not on your own when it comes down to that. Requirements for entry into the MSc. So we do require a relevant degree, undergraduate degree, computer science, IT, electrical engineering, mathematics, physics. We've even seen some cases lately of the business field where students have completed to a certain level stats courses, AI courses, and all of that. But with a minimum average of 70% or equivalent, depending on what your institution currently uses. If you find yourself in your final year of undergraduate studies, you should apply right away. Do not wait until you have finished your undergraduate studies. What would happen is that they would make an assessment based on your current situation, current grades and everything. You would receive, if the assessment is positive, a conditional offer of admission that you can then use to start and kick off the immigration process. But of course, the condition of that offer of admission would be completion of your undergraduate degree and submission of an official transcript after you are done with your undergraduate degrees. The deadline for admission, please ignore March 1st here. For the fall entry will be March 31st, and we currently offer a waiver for the application fee. So at the end of this, we'll be sharing a link for you to apply for free for our MSc program for a fall entry. Russell already spoke about the different areas of focus, and turnaround time will be typically around 2 to 4 weeks. So you'll learn fairly quickly about whether you'd be admitted into the program. English proficiency, another question that comes up a lot. Yes, we do accept medium of instruction. So whether it's French or English, you can submit proof of English proficiency through a medium of instruction. So we will need an official document from your institution that confirms that the MOI, the medium of instruction, was either French or English. If you do not have an MOI, then you do need to submit an English test. So we do have different listed, as you can see on the screen. Those will be available after the presentation, but IELTS is typically the one that we receive. So we require a minimum of 6.5 overall, with a minimum score of 6 throughout the other categories, throughout all categories. And otherwise, Duolingo is the cheapest and often easiest option, where we require 115 plus. How does it work to come to Canada now? So as I said before, our Bishops International team will support you with that. But to give you a bit of an oversight, so Sherbrooke is located in Quebec, the province of Quebec, and Quebec is located in the country of Canada. So the first step for you, once you offer your offer of admission, is to accept it. With the document that will follow your acceptance, you will be able to start your immigration process in Quebec. So you will obtain what we call the equivalent of a provincial attestation letter, the PAL. In Quebec, it is called a CAQ. So a lot of acronyms, I apologize for that. Once you obtain your CAQ, you can move on to the study permit at the federal level with Canada. The overall process can take up to 16 weeks. So it is very important that you apply as soon as you can, if at all possible for you to do so today, tomorrow. As I said, in any case, the deadline to apply will be March 31st. So, but we do encourage you to apply as soon as you can. Scholarships and tuition. In terms of tuition, I'll start with that and then talk about scholarships and funding. Tuition, course base, in this case, on this slide, will be the same as internship base. So please refer to that moving forward. For thesis base for 1 year, we are talking about around $20,000 Canadian. And for course-based program, we're talking a little over $27,000 Canadian. So I understand that these are fairly substantial and that there is somewhat of a discrepancy between thesis-based and course-based or internship-based. The reason for that is that research projects, research development, and research initiatives are typically better funded or more accessible than professional degrees. So that is the reason why tuition will be fairly lower. However, I do strongly encourage you to choose the stream that is relevant for you. So because, as Russell mentioned, the thesis-based program will be somewhat more challenging. So it is important to opt for that if that is what you are looking for. In terms of funding and scholarships, are you eligible for scholarships as an international student? Yes, you are. Then it will depend on what option you choose, whether the thesis-based or course-based program. There will be more funding opportunities for the thesis-based program. For the thesis-based program, we're looking at scholarships that can range between $15,000 to $27,000 Canadian per year that you can obtain internally or externally. And I am the person as the graduate study coordinator that will support you with the different funding opportunities that you can explore. In the course-based program, as it is right now, there are no scholarships available, but we do provide support to find either on-campus or off-campus jobs, but also for different internships, as I've mentioned before, that you can do throughout your degree and not strictly as part of your degree. Those internships will typically be paid between $10,000 to $15,000 Canadian for a 4 to 6 month unit. So that means that at the end of the day, internships, if we are able to secure internships for you on a regular basis, you could obtain $10,000 to $15,000 Canadian per year or potentially per term. One thing that I do want to mention, funding is not guaranteed. The responsibility is of the students to make sure that they are able to pay their tuition in full. While we do provide support through scholarships or securing different jobs or internships, we cannot guarantee full ride scholarships. We do not offer full ride scholarships first and foremost, but we will support you in finding the different financial opportunities to support and offset a good part, if not all of your tuition. How do you apply to the program? So we will actually ignore the slide and we'll leave it there, but I will paste some language in the chat that a little after my presentation that will explain it very clearly. We'll explain it in 2 steps. First, students interested in the thesis-based program. If you are interested in the thesis-based program, you will need to pre-apply and officially apply. So yes, it is a 2-application process. The pre-application, both of which are free of charge, the pre-application means that your application goes to the faculty, the professors in the department. They can determine whether or not they are available, suited, and interested in supervising you. Once you receive a positive answer from this, you can move on with your official application, which will result in an official offer of admission. Of course, given the timeline that we're working with right now and the fact that we are waiving the application fee for the official process, I strongly encourage you to submit both applications at the same time before March 31st to make sure that if the answer is positive for your pre-application, that at least you have a chance to submit your official application. So again, this is for thesis-based program, and I will put language in the chat shortly after this to explain that very clearly. If you are interested in the course-based or internship-based program, you simply submit an official application, again, free of charge. The link will be in the chat shortly, where your application will be reviewed by our admissions office, and you will receive an answer within the typical 2 to 4 weeks. If you want to learn more about our campus, because I do understand that I've provided a very small oversight, a brief oversight of what it is, you are welcome to book a virtual campus tour. You'll have my information at the end of this, and you're welcome to connect with me if you want to book a virtual campus tour. thank you very much for taking the time to meet with myself and Russell today. We'll be moving on to questions. What I will do right now, as we transition into the question period, I will be pasting in the chat the details that I mentioned about applications. So you'll get the link for the pre-application and the official application for thesis-based students interested in the thesis-based program. But you'll also get the official link for those interested in the course-based program. So we have our first question from Ruhula Hamadi. Thank you for your question. Is it possible to do an internship or research project at your department without being an MSc student? There may be some opportunities. Unfortunately, neither myself or Russell can really support you with student mobility. What I would encourage you to do is potentially connect with me via email, and I can forward your email, your information to the right person. It would be simpler than doing this here over a session with multiple people involved. Please send me your information, and I'll be happy to support you with that. Can you please go over funding and support again, Shahin? I'll do it briefly since the recording will be made available after this. So funding opportunity, they are available, will be available primarily for the thesis-based program. The scholarships will range between $15,000 to $27,000 Canadian per year. They are competitive scholarships that you can apply for once admitted into the program. They have their own application guidelines, competition deadlines, and everything. So once admitted to the program, we can start exploring those more in depth, but they are competitive scholarships. Then we can look into on-campus or off-campus jobs that we can support you with. But I want to emphasize the fact that Bishops does not provide, as the Yared's question is about, we do not offer full ride scholarships. So no, there is no fully funded scholarships, unfortunately. The responsibility is of the students to secure funding or to have the financial capacity to pay their tuition. We will support you in potentially securing scholarships and applying for scholarships and potentially finding an internships or on-campus or off-campus jobs. But you will have to take a number of steps in order to secure all of that yourself as well. But I will be there to support you through the process. The scholarships, Yared, will vary depending. I believe, Yared, I'm not sure if you joined at a later point. If you did, I would encourage you to look over the recording. But ultimately, it could cover a portion of your tuition. Like I said, scholarships will range between $15,000 to $27,000 Canadian, and tuition, depending on the program of interest for you, could be up to $27,000 Canadian per year. So it could offset a portion of it, but while a large number of our students will secure some scholarships throughout their studies, it is not guaranteed. Questions are a bit more parsed today. So what I'd like to suggest is that my information are in the chat, and Russell will be circulating more information later. I'm happy to book a virtual meeting one-on-one with you in the near future if you want to address anything else specifically. But I'll address Shahin's question in the chat, and then maybe Russell, if you want to go with the parting words. Will the institution help with these applications as well? Absolutely. So with your offer of admission, you'll be put in touch with our Bishops International office that supports our incoming and on-campus students with anything related to immigrations. So yes, you'll be supported with that. Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much, Jimmy.
Welcome.
So with that, we're going to end this session, and I will be sending the follow-up email with application details, recording, and all the supporting material that you saw today, plus a few other documents that should help you in your decision. So with that, thank you very much for attending. We appreciate your time, and we hope to see you soon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.